Yo, 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Yo, let's talk about it here on the Emmaus proposition. Let's go!
It's the biggest proposition. Stating the truth of God's story, doing it all to God's glory. Faith, logic, reason, Christ, giving the world the gospel diction. Giving the world the gospel diction. Giving the world the gospel diction. It's the biggest proposition. Stating the truth
Yo,
of God's
mic
story.
check, 1 2 1 2. It's your boy Shay coming back at you with another episode of the Emmaus proposition. Yo, this is the last episode of 2025. Yo, we jumped this thing off, jumped right back in, and I've been excited. It's only been a few episodes, but I'm excited to see what this next year is going to bring us. And we're coming with new episodes. Hopefully we get some new subscribers so new folks can hear about what we're doing over here. New folks hearing about what we're doing over at A2GG Apologetics. Yo, it's going to be a fun year. Looking forward to it. But let's talk about this. Being that it's the last episode of 2025, that means we are into the holiday season, right? And I don't know about y'all, but I know people who struggle during this time of year. Matter of fact, I'm one of those people that struggles during this time of year, and I don't know what it is. I could probably try to trace it back all the way back to my childhood, right? Like I remember when my folks would get me gifts and stuff like that. I remember my mom, my aunt, they would try to buy me stuff, and it just wasn't. I don't know, man. Like they probably thought I didn't appreciate them. They probably thought that I was just being a moody teenager or whatever have you. But for some reason, they would get me stuff, and I wasn't like overjoyed. I can even trace it back further, right? Like I remember back when I found out that there was no Santa Claus. Y'all know that song by the Jackson Five. I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus. Like I kind of had an episode like that where stepdad was putting gifts up under the tree, and I snuck out and saw him, and it's like, wait a minute, that's not Santa Claus. That's that dude. So I don't know if it's going all the way far back that far. I don't know if it's being a teenager. I don't know if it was during my initial time in the military. So when I joined the military, I'm from South Carolina originally. So I left South Carolina, tried to go to Washington D.C. to go to college at Howard U. That didn't work out, man. Your boy just wasn't ready. It was it was too much. Too much stimulus too fast. I wasn't used to being a self-starter on my schoolwork and stuff like that. I was way too into girls at the time. It was my downfall. And so left there, couldn't do it, joined the military. And my first time being away from home, away from family, away from friends, I was sitting in Altus, Oklahoma. Was I in Altus? I wasn't even in Altus yet. I spent my birthday in Altus, and it was like the first time that, man, I just didn't have anybody there. Didn't have anybody there to celebrate with me, to go out. I was like an adult now, and so it was just like it was a hard time. I'll say it that way. Like I remember sitting in the dorms by myself. You got folks there, but they're not your folks. You know what I'm saying? Not yet, at least. Like I met a lot of cool people in the military, but man, that first birthday was rough. I remember left Altus, went up to Washington State, and spent Thanksgiving there. And man, that was rough because it was like, man, I should be back home getting some mac and cheese, getting some collards, getting some turkey, like all the stuff, right? And I was sitting in another dorm with some pizza, and it was just me and my homeboy that I met in the military. We were just sitting eating pizza, and that was our Thanksgiving. And it was like, man, what is going on? So like I feel like my mood toward the holidays like started to drift down. And then by the time I got to my first duty station out in California, Northern California, for that first Christmas, I was just done, man. Like it was like the holidays kind of got robbed of their meaning. You know what I mean? Like when you spend those kind of things alone, when you used to spending them with a lot of folks, or at least like that love of family. You know what I'm saying? It's rough going out there the first time on your own, and there's no like there was no way for me to get back. Like I'm in the middle of training. I was building this new life, striking out on my own kind of thing. I wasn't in the mind frame to go back home for those things. It was like I needed to be in the here and now. But what that did was it just caused like a downward trend of my feelings toward the holidays. And I've tried to correct it over the years. Like I've tried to like get in the mood, especially now that I have a family, like a wife and family. Man, trying to get into it for the kids, trying to get into it for the wife, but I just don't have it in me. Like it's just not there. And then once I had that attitude like that, right? Then my theological side kicked in, and I started looking into, okay, what is it actually that we're celebrating? Like, what actually is this holiday? And come to find out, man, there's a lot of stuff that in my heart I found problematic. And so I've tried to listen to different things because different people have different takes on on Christmas, on Thanksgiving, and like this whole holiday season. And it's never settled in for me. And so I know a lot of people are that way. Matter of fact, being in my position in the military now, there's a lot of people that I help talk through their feelings, and they got low feelings. Like mine aren't necessarily low. I just kind of have like a general apathy. Theirs are like low, and there's family trauma there. There's hurt feelings there. Some people have had loved ones that have passed away over this season, and so they're struggling with feelings of, man, do I be joyful or do I reminisce about what I've lost? And that wrestle doesn't sit well for a lot of folks. So this is an odd time of year, man. But here's what I want to say. For my last message of 2025, and you saw the thumbnail, you know what we're talking about. This is grace, right? This is what we do. We look at the message that God has for his people, and it's grace for the broken. And a lot of people have like different definitions of grace. Like I don't know. It's nothing like weird like some people group talks about. Like I ain't gonna talk smack about nobody, man, but there's some people that have a weird definition of grace. And I've always gravitated toward grace is not getting, I'm sorry, it's getting what you don't deserve. It's getting something that you don't actually deserve. Versus mercy, right? Mercy would be like not getting something that you do deserve. So when we talk about grace, like we're getting something that we don't deserve, and we take that to the scriptures, we can see that God opens up his heart for those that, even though they're broken, we are natural enemies of God. Like God does not have to give grace toward his enemies. Like it's a blessing that he gives his favor to those who rebel against his rulership. And so when we get this grace, we get his love, we get his attention, we get his spirit, we get the fact that his son has laid his life down on our behalf and given us his righteousness. Like we get all these things of God completely undeserving of them. And that's what we mean by grace, right? And talking through that and thinking through like what does it mean that God gives grace to the broken? It's this idea that God doesn't avoid broken people; he actually builds them up. It's not like God says like, you're too far gone for me to have anything to do for you, or God doesn't come through and say something like, you're too much of an enemy for me to love you. Like for those he calls his own, y'all understand? Like my theology, I think God has loved the people that he wants to bring into his family from the foundation of the earth. Like we find that back in the book of Ephesians, and so it's one of those things that's baked in to how I see God and how I read the scriptures. And so for those that God calls his home, that calls his own, there's never a time where he says like you're too broken for me to wash you clean, take away your filthiness and give you my righteousness. Like there's never a time when God says, okay, now that I've saved you, you got to work through the rest. There's there's never a time like that. Like God, not only does he take those he calls his own, he brings them in, he loves them, he washes them clean, he gives them new garments of righteousness. Then he takes them through life and makes them more and more into the image of his son. Like there's never a time when God leaves us alone. And so he's constantly building us up. He's constantly washing us clean. And then he gives us a family of believers. And he places us within this body of different people with different mindsets and things that God has taken them through, and experiences that they've had with the scriptures. They've got different skill sets that you don't have. They've got like words that you've never used before. Like it's such an awesome thing that God does not leave us alone, but continues to like build us up into a family and into himself. Like it's a beautiful thing for me. And so that kind of grace, it's for the broken. There's a lot of folks that feel alone during this time of year, and they feel so broken and so dirty, like no one can help them. And God is just like, no, like that's just not true. Like I have so much love for you. I have so much in store for you. I have a family for you. Not only am I with you, but I bring you into a family where you're never alone. Like that kind of grace is what people need during this holiday season. And so I was like, I like that. Like I'm a person who needs to hear that. I don't always believe that. Yes, I have my family. Don't get me wrong, and they're there. But you ever been in the midst of people? Like you could be surrounded by a lot of people and still feel alone. Like I have that. I have that a lot of times. Just full transparency. Like there's times when I just get like no one understands what my thoughts are, and I don't want to say them out loud because I don't want to freak people out. And so you're stuck in this cycle of just not being able to talk to anybody. And I think there's a few different people in the Bible that were that way too. I think David was like that sometimes. If you look at some of his Psalms, he was just struggling sometimes. Like he's struggling like, God, would you give me like, would you change my heart? Would you give grace to me? I am so broken. Would you just love on me even though I'm unlovable? And I think God answered him in that. But those feelings, I understand that. Like I totally get it. I think Peter was like that. I think Peter, after the episode where he denies Christ and he runs off into the night, man, God, would you give grace to this broken sinner? Like I don't know where to go from here. Like I told you previously that you're the only one with the words of life, and now I just denied the words of life, and now I don't have anywhere to go anymore. I feel that. I totally get that. And there's people out there that have felt that way. That, man, I've denied my friends, I've denied my family, I've denied my church family, and now I don't have anywhere to go. And the great news is that Jesus meets Peter in that state and lifts him up. And as many times as Peter denied him, Jesus like lifts him up and rebuilds him and tells him, go feed my sheep. Like I get that you don't love me. I get that you recognize that what's supposed to be agape is actually more like brotherly love. Well, it's what's supposed to be like you would die for me is more like I Jesus, like I understand your frame, Peter. For now, I'm gonna change that, but for now, just feed my sheep. What a beautiful thing, man. Like, what a beautiful thing to get that kind of grace. It's awesome. I think Paul was like that. I like the story of Paul. Like the older I get, the more I appreciate who Paul was. Like Paul was living this life of surety. I'm sure in the law. We've had thousands of years of experience with the law. Like I'm standing firm. This is the way to a relationship with God. Like, and anything else is just it's heresy. Like anybody who denies God in the way that He's revealed Himself is just they're wrong, just flat out. Like Paul is a very black and white, right? God meets him on the road to Emmaus. No, I'm sorry, not to Emmaus. I'm thinking about the title of this. God meets him along the road to go persecute more Christians, blinds him, and says to him, like, "You're persecuting me. Like all my people that you're hunting, you might as well be hunting me." And and Paul is just like undone, right? Like God puts scales over his eyes, and he has to be healed, led around like a child, and all this stuff. And it's like, where's the grace for this sinner? And God sends someone. God sends someone out of the family that he's persecuting, and basically like envelops him in the family. That's that's the kind of grace we need for this holiday season. Um, in God's kingdom, I want to say it like this: in God's kingdom, brokenness is not like it's not baggage. It's actually the weapon that we need to fight against some of these feelings. So when Jesus comes along and says, "My power is made perfect in your weakness," I think we hear that through a cultural lens because we're Americans, right? Like we gotta have power. There's a Marxist influence there, but that might be for another episode. We gotta have power in this life. Like we can't seem weak, especially as men. We can't seem weak because that's unattractive. Um, we can't be seen as weak because other people would step all over us, and we can't get what we need if we're displaying a bunch of weakness. Like those are the betas of the culture, right? And then Jesus in this upside down kingdom says, "No, my power is made perfect in your weakness." Like the sooner we can get to the end of you, as soon as we can put that to death, my power can start to live in you. And it's like this redemption, like it's like the badge of the redeemed. And in the holiday season, when people are feeling low and they're feeling like they don't deserve the grace of God, and they're feeling weak and lonely, God is like, man, it's in those times. Like I actually brought you to this time on purpose, so me and you can spend some time together. I wish I knew. I wish I knew that in that first holiday season, that first birthday alone, that first Thanksgiving, that first Christmas. I wish I knew that God intentionally placed me there on purpose to get my attention. I spent so much time, and it wasn't even like in the grand scheme of things between going into the military and like meeting my wife and us like growing in Christ together. It was like a short span. It was only like 3 or 4 years that I lost my noodle. Like I was flying all over the world, having a bunch of experiences, ungodly experiences, and man, I wish I knew during that first one that God was trying to get me by myself, to just spend time with me, to build me up, to draw him in, to draw me into Himself. I wish I knew that. I think I would have taken that moment of weakness and turned it into something completely different. And maybe that's for somebody listening to this today. Maybe God is has you at some alone time, has you at a weak moment, on purpose. Maybe God is trying to draw you into something. Maybe there's a conversation that God is trying to have with you that you keep avoiding. Maybe you have seen weakness as what culture sees it as, and you don't see it as a hallmark of what it means to be redeemed in Christ. Maybe, maybe we should slow down a little bit and really ask the question, like, God, why do you have me here? What is it that you have for me? And just sit with God for a time. We are so busy. We expect God to answer in 2.3 seconds, like God is Chat GPT or something. God's not like that. God is patient. God knows what our hearts need. There might be some times where He answers quickly, but typically He wants us to sit and wait and be thankful enough that we get an opportunity to sit at the foot of the throne. You know what I mean? And that be our portion. Often we don't do that. Out here, as we're trying to figure out how to raise our spirits during this holiday season, maybe God is just like, no, I made you low on purpose. It's where I start to reshape your heart. It's where your soul gets so clogged up with the things of the world. You need some spiritual Drano in that joint. You need to be cleared out so God can get His message through sometimes. Sometimes we need that. Anyway, here's the thing. When we have this opportunity to sit with God and we have these stories of the things that God has taken us through, I feel like sometimes we are too ashamed of those low moments to use them for the intention that God gave it. Yes, I said God is using it to maybe redeem and shape our hearts in a way. I think He also uses it because He knows that in those moments we often fail, and He knows what our failures are. I think a lot of times He wants us to use that as a testimony. There's so many things that we go through in life that we're afraid to out ourselves and our weaknesses, that we waste the opportunity for testimony. Somebody around you is watching your life. I don't know who it is. You probably know who it is. You probably know that there's people out there that are watching you, or maybe you don't. Maybe you don't know that there's tons of people around you that are watching to see how you're going to live your life. There's non-believers and skeptics that are watching you to try to disprove the fact that you believe in God, or try to disprove your God. There's other believers that are walking alongside you that are watching you to see man, how are they going to handle this situation? Are they going to freak out? Because I think I would freak out. Are they going to freak out? Are they going to handle it with grace? Are they going to lean on God? How are they going to do that? And so there's people that are learning from our lives, but then it's like we forget that. So we waste the opportunity for testimony to say to the skeptic, yes, my God is real. Look at what He's done for me. Look at where He's brought me through. There's often times where we go through stuff and we get silent, and we don't say to the skeptic and the non-believer, my God is so great. My God is so gracious. Look at where He's brought me from. We fail to say the same thing to the believers that are watching. The believers are watching, and we could say to them, man, I was low, and God met me there. I was literally in quicksand. Not literally. I was figuratively in quicksand. What movie is that? They're like, I think you should stop saying literally when you don't mean it literally. You could say I was in spiritual quicksand. I'm drowning, and God met me there. He didn't pull me out super fast, but He was with me in the middle of it. What a testimony, man. I can honestly say, looking back at those first few holiday seasons, God was with me. I was ignoring Him. I was in the midst of drowning myself in probably alcohol kind of thing, drowning myself in relationships, bad relationships, just trying to drown out the loneliness. Um, but for sure, when I got by myself, because I indulged too much on those things, and you get by yourself and you're like, this ain't it. Y'all probably had those moments where you're like, this is just not, this ain't working. I need something else. I wish I knew that the answer was God at that time. But man, praise be to God, He's taken me through all kind of other experiences, and I can now talk to young men and women that are coming into service, or maybe they're going off to college for the first time and they feel super lonely. I'm like, yo, it's not. It probably won't be the best strategy to run to things other than God. God is the one that's going to fulfill that hole of loneliness the way you need it filled. What a treat! What a treat that God has given us a testimony. Like the things we survive become someone else's survival guide. If you get what I mean by that, like you can be like, yo, here's some strategies that I learned along the way. Here's how I failed. I I didn't reach out to God. I didn't sit with alone prayer time. I didn't get myself out of the dorms to just kind of reset my brain. You just kind of sit in place and wallow in your own guilt and shame and fears and all kind of other stuff, and it's like a mucky place, and then you add trash on top of it, and we just sit in it, and you don't go on a walk or go on vacation somewhere or take some time just you and God. You don't open up the scriptures and just spend time with God to see what you have to say there. We don't do those things, and they're points of failure. But then you could tell somebody else, "Yo, if I was you, this is how I would have done it differently." These are the things that I've learned along the way. All of us have those testimonies like that. We just don't use them for some strange reason. We just kind of walk through life as if, God didn't rescue us all the time. It's crazy. We're funny creatures. Um, and that's the thing, like about grace. Um, Grace is something that I think is often foreign to a non-godly worldview. I think in a non-godly worldview, grace, first of all, I think it has a different definition in a ungodly worldview. But even the concept of it, I think culture would rather cancel a person than give them grace. Like, remember, we we're natural enemies of God until God like brings us in finally, right? Like Paul says, like, we were all once walking as sons of disobedience, what following the course of this world, following the prince of the power of the air. We were all once walking that lifestyle until God brings us in and washes us clean, right? Like in time, God brings us in, washes us clean, gives us his grace like that. Culture would rather just cancel a person. Like it's almost not even worth the effort. Like for culture, once you cross me, we're done. We're not we're not in a relationship anymore. I actually don't want you to be in a relationship with others either. I want you in isolation to shame you um, into submission, and then I won't care about you anymore. Like I just want you to go over there and die in the corner alone by yourself because you've crossed me. A lot of times that's what culture does. That's what this whole cancel culture thing is, right? It's this culture where a person has something to say that's different than you. You rise up and say, "I don't like that. I need to cancel your platform," and you're done. Like once you're gone out of my memory. I don't think you should come back ever. And a lot of people struggle through that through the holidays, man. Like they once had friends that were close to them that they could confide in, and something might have happened. Um, maybe a love triangle happened, or maybe an argument happened. Maybe sometimes somebody borrowed money or something like that, and now there's beef. Whatever it is, people go through the separation, and then they say, "Well, we can't be in a relationship anymore." I like grace. Grace is something that you can tell when a person has understood what God has done for them. Grace just starts to like overflow out of them. And I think like, and this is true. Like even Christians, I don't think fully understand what God has done for them. I think we forget how bad off we were before Christ. And when we forget how bad we were, we don't like we hoard the grace for ourselves. We're like, man, I'm so glad God was gracious to me. But then somebody will come along that's done something up to us, and we say, well, you don't deserve forgiveness. I'm going to remember every single thing you've ever done to me. Jesus told a parable about this, right? About the wicked servant who somebody like that the wicked servant owed the master money, and the he comes to collect, and he's like, yo, it's time to pay up, bro. And the wicked servant is like, I ain't got it. And the ruler's like, well, you got to go to jail, bro. Like you give me what you owe me, or you got to go to jail. It's very black and white. And the wicked servant pleads for mercy. He's like, man, I have this incredible debt that I can't pay off. Actually, it's not even an incredible debt. The debt was kind of small. He's like, man, I just don't have the means to pay off this debt. Would you please have mercy on me? The ruler says, I'll give you grace. Your debt is wiped clean. Your debt is wiped clean. You no longer owe me. Out of my benevolence, grace I give to you. Man says, whew, walks off, goes to find one of his homies that owes him. Actually, I'm sorry, I got it flipped. The dude did owe a great debt, and the ruler forgave it. It was like a huge debt. He goes to his boy that owes a small debt and says, give me what you owe me. Like shakes him up, roughs him up, and like tries to get him imprisoned because of a small debt. The king hears about it, says, dude, I forgave a great debt. You go over here and you rough up your boy for a small debt? You gotta go, bro. Off to prison with you. Sometimes sometimes we're like the wicked servant. Sometimes we forget that we've been forgiven a great debt. And then somebody does something small to us, and we get all up in arms. We get all bunched up. And God is like, I forgave you. I forgave your cosmic treason. Like every time you sin, which is daily, y'all. It's daily that we're committing cosmic treason. God's like, I bled for that. I died for that. Like I have nail marks in my hands because of you. And you won't forgive that? You won't give grace to something like that? Not impressed. Not impressed at all. We often treat people this way because like I said, we forget the great debt that we owed God. And so when God is looking at us, he knows our frame. He knows that this is how we treat people. He knows this is the things that we're going through. He looks at our performance and says, I'm not impressed. And the great news of the gospel. Here's the awesome news. And this is definitely for sure because during this holiday season, like all these things are going on, right? We've got people who They had a falling out with their family or friends, and so they feel lonely. Now that they're lonely, they sink deeper and deeper into their own heads about how they're weak and nobody wants them, and it's just a lot of self-sabotage. They go on. A lot of people go on to take their own lives because they can't handle the pressure of what this season means for them. And so all this stuff is happening, right? And God is looking at our performance. He's looking at the way we don't forgive people. He's looking at the way that we don't dispense grace. He's looking at the way that we're not using our testimony for the reasons that He gave it to us. He's looking at the way we don't sit with Him and just be still. He's looking at all that. And He's like, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed by your performance at all. And thank God. Thank you, Jesus, that God is more impressed with the performance of His Son than He is of us. And He takes that. He takes that performance that Christ has endured, the perfect obedience to the law, the perfect way that He lived in the flesh, the perfect way that He fulfilled His mission to save and redeem those He would call His own, the perfect way that He takes our unrighteousness and gives us His righteousness, like the perfection of how He does that. God takes that and says, I take the righteousness of my Son and I give it to you, you rebel. I do this because I love you. I'm not doing it because you did a good job. I'm not doing it because you're a great speaker or because, I don't know, dude. Because you think you do all the stuff right. You think that you have all these great relationships. I'm not doing it for any of that because you didn't do it to the perfection of my Son anyway. And He says, the Bible says, like, God made Christ into sin. Like he took it, gave it to Christ in such a way that He became sin on our behalf. Oh my gosh. If we if we truly understood what our sinful nature was and still is to some extent, we truly understood it. When we saw God's gracious acts toward us, it should spill over. When Psalm 23 says, like, my cup is running over, it should be like a spilled cup. Like, grace should just like pour off of us. It should be like 0.0023 seconds before somebody does something to us and we forgive them. Like, as they're doing it, as they're saying, my bad, or even if they're not saying my bad, grace should just like pour off of us. I forgive you, yo. Like, I know who I was. Every time we walk into a sin, it should be like, I have failed. I've failed, and I'm so sorry. My God, I'm so sorry. I want to walk away from this. I don't have the power to do it. I need more of your grace. I'm an open palmed beggar asking for your grace once again. Sometimes for the same sin. Over and over and over. And He's faithful and just to forgive us of our sins. Like, this is such good news, y'all. Like, this is the message that I hope in 2026 causes us to rush out onto the street, telling people our testimony, giving them the gospel. People need to hear this, especially in the culture we live in right now. There's so many people that need to hear, I hear that you're lonely. God says we'll never be alone if we're with Him. I hear that you're a sinner. God has taken the punishment for that sin on our behalf. I hear that you're having a hard time with forgiving others. Let me put this understanding on you. of how much you've been forgiven. And maybe that'll spill over to others. Yo, my prayer is that this gospel message will go out, man, that, man, there's a man who is God in the flesh, who came not to lord his position over anyone, but to humble himself as a servant. Talk about feeling alone. Talk about feeling alone as he's up on the cross. As he lives a life, he's with people. He goes to the cross. He's up on the cross, and he's like, "My God, why have you forsaken me? Why have you left me?" He's saying that because in Psalm 22, it's talking about like his death and how he's going to die this way, but the loneliness he feels in that moment, that his disciples have left. He feels like his father has forsaken him because he's been made into sin, and God has to punish the sin for the sake of bringing people into his family. And then when he dies, he doesn't stay dead, but like rises from the grave. And then it's not like he rises and disappears and now he's like this urban legend. He walks around and interacts with people. He presents himself to like over 400 people. This is the good news of the gospel, that Christ has lived a life that we ought to live, that he lived on our behalf. Christ has died a death that rightly went to us. Like we should have died the death that Christ died, but he died it on our behalf. Christ is risen from the grave in the promise of a new life. Christ goes up into the presence of the Father and continues to advocate on our behalf. Christ said, "I'm going to go away to prepare a place for you, so that where I am, you may be also." This is the gospel. Like, God has not left us alone. God gives us abundant grace. He gives us abundant life. He gives us a family that we can grow into the image of his Son. God takes our circumstances and shapes and molds us exactly how he wants us to be. God doesn't throw away broken things. God doesn't waste experiences. He remakes them. Grace isn't something that is like a throwaway concept. It is the thing by which we live. And my prayer for all of us, 2026 is coming quick, that this would be running off our lips. The grace that this world needs, the message of salvation, the promise of a returning King, may that be ever on our lips in this coming year. Yo, I'm gonna wrap it up there. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. I know I did. I'm just looking forward. At this point in my life, God has given me so much grace. I'm looking forward to all the grace he's going to give me in this next year, and I hope you are too. But I love y'all. Hope y'all doing well. Y'all continue to check out what we're doing over at A2GG Apologetics, teaching teens how to defend their faith. Y'all support your boy if you can. Keep listening to this. Interact with the material so more people can see it. Yo, I love y'all. Hope y'all doing well. And yo, until next time, grace and peace.
Reason Christ, giving the world a gospel diction. It's the Emmaus Proposition.